time to share with us.
Yeah, not a problem. Glad to.
Alrighty, guys, welcome back to the Unlock Your Freedom podcast with Kevin Keppel. And today, got a friend of the show, Patric Keagan, with us. Patric, what's going on, man? Welcome back.
Thank you, Kevin. Great to be here. Great to see you again.
Yeah, well, I said welcome back. I was actually on your podcast, but you know what I mean. So here we are, everybody, and
Here we are.
For everybody out there, Patric's an author. He has recently created the book "Sell the Difference," and I was really excited to learn with you, from you, and all about the greatness there. And Patric just said something you don't hear a lot. He said the writing of the book was pretty easy. But it was everything else that was a little challenging. So I'd love to learn more about that.
Yeah. It's amazing too, because when folks think about writing a book, they think about the writing of the book. I was the same way. And once you get clarity in your vision, what is the book about? Who is it for? What will it do for them? The information flows if you have something of value. And everything else that goes into self-publishing, there's a lot to it. It's not something, you could be good at a lot of things, but when you're new at something, you bump into a lot of things along the way, and you got to be willing to take the bumps a little bit. So it's been a nice journey. Yeah,
I always think like the first is the worst, right? Like first time we walked, we probably went down, and there's such a great learning curve. Very humbling.
Yeah, I always say babies learn to walk through falling, and they learn to fall through walking. So it's kind of you're gonna have to go through it,
So what would you say is one of the bigger ahas that you had just for the whole creation process?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I started trying to write a book back in like 1998 or 2000, somewhere in that time range, and my motivations were just in the wrong place. My motivation at the time was to stop being a road warrior. I was literally in and out of airports and hotels and never home with my family. And my motivation was just simply to get off the road, and thought I could do it with what I knew at that time. And I kept hitting roadblocks and writer's block. And I stepped away from it. And actually through the course of my podcast, flash forward, another 20 years from that point, someone who is a very successful writer said, you have this book locked up within you. And he's like, did you always want to be the best at what you do? I said, yeah, early in my career, that was a blind ambition. I want to be the best. And then I realized being the best wasn't really what I was aiming at. I wanted to be better than what is best. And what is that's being different. That's where my podcast came from. Sales Hindsights, having someone like you with your expertise and combine that with my expertise from 30 years. And what have we learned? What can we pass along to other folks coming up that they might benefit from? And that's what the book came out of. Is I wanted to talk about the power of differentiation. And it's a skill that's really needed everywhere in our careers, but certainly in sales. And most folks know they should differentiate themselves or their solutions or their company. They just don't know how to. And we end up all sounding the same. And that's not valuable to anybody.
So could you go deeper on the differentiation there? Because I think that's such a profound thing. It's like, if I sound like everybody else, then I'm lost in the crowd and I'm not owning my unique gifts.
Yeah, I wrote down a saying that I really love. I kind of embrace this. And the saying is, you will never be able to do anything better unless you can manage to do it differently. And so when you think about, differentiation, a lot of times we as professionals actually talk about what makes us the same as others. I call it the comparability factors. We talk about our length of time in the industry, our company's length of time in the industry. We talk about our solutions as the problem to what they have, or our credentials. But what we don't do, and everybody says that. So in essence, think of yourself when you say those things. It's like being on a Zoom call and somebody puts you on mute. It's not effective. You can't make your point, but you move your arms. So differentiation is when you can distinguish yourself. And distinguishing yourself is getting the other person to notice the entire landscape. I learned this back in my days in the military, and we were behind enemy lines, and it was nighttime, and it was a very tropical type environment, and mosquitoes were horrible, biting, attacking, nuisance all night long. And we had ourselves covered up with this mesh that's supposed to be mosquito proof. And the creativity with that problem, let's light a certain candle that has a certain scent, maybe that'll make them go away. Let's learn to swat them. Let's do this, let's do that. Hours of energy. And one person with not a lot of experience took a piece of duct tape and taped the hole in the mesh. Problem solved. Looking at the whole landscape, it was distinguished work. Oh, that we should carry duct tape with us in case we have mosquitoes. That's not why you carry duct tape, but that became a very easy to understand analogy of differentiation. Now apply that to sales. Most people learn through modeled behavior. Think about when you're new in sales and you go on sales calls and your manager models the correct behavior. You believe it's the correct behavior, and you go out and you do that, and you do it over and over again. And then you change companies and you continue doing that. Plus you add other things that other folks model. And pretty soon we're modeling the same things, not once looking at what is really the problem that the client has and how are we uniquely approaching that problem. Most people can see the symptom, the mosquito. They can see that. When you take a step further back and look at the entire landscape and you see that that's a symptom of a greater problem, you can treat the problem. In sales, you can equate that to dollars lost, dollars spent, bigger issues, and you create an environment where you're the only logical solution to not only your customer, but to people like them and to their organization. You become the most valuable asset that they now possess. That's what the book is about.
So everybody who's listening is in their head. They're like, how? And, go read the book. That's how. But what's what's
well, no,
step?
that's a great question. No, that's a phenomenal, because people say, well, how? That sounds great. And in the book, we give lots of examples of, what does it look like? What does differentiation look like? What might it sound like? What might you say? So we give people the words. Here's what you might do. But then we also go a little step further, and we separate the difference between being very tactical and being very strategic, right? So tactical is, I do this. Sales are down. I make more calls. I see more people. I get more presentations out. That's tactical. But people think that's strategic. Strategic is, how do I, where am I going? Not what do I do to get there? And so in the book, I give very strategic planning and how to do this, and then how to do it on a regular basis, as well as what to do and what it might look like and what it might sound like. Because talking about being different, everybody's done that. People know they have to differentiate. They just don't know how. They might do it by accident. But so I call my book, and it's the same thing as my podcast and the same thing as my consulting services. It's the most practical inspiration you'll ever have. So if you think about practical, it's very easy to remember. And if it's easy to remember, it's very easy to repeat. If it's successful, then you're repeating successful behaviors. And it's inspiration. If you have an inspired sales force, they don't have to be the best. They just accomplish differentiation. They're better than best. So it's practical inspiration that way. So we give a lot of how-tos as well as what-tos.
So I love that differentiation you made with strategic and tactical, because I think that's confusing to a lot of people, myself included in the past. Strategic's more about like possibility, what could be. And like, here's a few plans, we're going to get it. And then, tactical is like that pragmatic side, which obviously is important too. So
yeah, I was just sitting on a panel and I had to talk about the topic of strategy, which is a big topic and a big word, and I said, imagine myself, I sit here in Chicago and I say, I'm going to go to Florida. Okay, that's the strategy. I'm going to Florida. Now, I could fly, I could drive, I could walk, I could ride a bicycle, I could take a bus. Those are tactics. Let's imagine I'm driving with you, Kevin, and we know the route we're going to take, and then you blindfold me. At that point, where I'm going hasn't changed, but how I get there changes drastically. So turning right several times, turning left several times, or driving faster or slower isn't a strategic thing to do. It's a tactic, and it can get me hurt and get me in the wrong place. And many times, so we say sales are down. Let's have a contest. Let's create a newsletter. Let's get the executives out with the clients. Okay, but take a step back. It's like the mosquito analogy. And when I work with folks on this concept, everybody can see the symptom. I have a sore throat. And in business, a sore throat could be sales are down, production is down, or accounts receivables are down, whatever it may be. The client can see it. Many times they call you in and say, we have a problem we want you to fix. They call in your competitors, they can see that too, but seeing the symptom is not treating the problem. And so I call differentiation kind of the Jiminy Cricket effect. If you think of Jiminy Cricket from the story of Pinocchio, he's the conscience, he's the word of wisdom. You want to be the only logical choice, the only thing your customer thinks about at nighttime when they think about solving the bigger problem. And when you do that, you've created a waiting room that only you wait in, and you're waiting for the customer to invite you in. And you're changing the dynamic from, Kevin, why should I do business with you, to why haven't we been doing business with Kevin all along? And that's what you're after.
Yeah, that sounds good. Where do I sign up? So, who, so who are your favorite types of clients to serve and to work with?
You know, with sales, it's always fun. I do work a lot with leaders, so executive leaders, folks who have graduated from sales. I work a lot of times with what is called support groups of sales. It might be accounting or production. And what I find really enjoyable is when you talk to everybody and you say, you know, there's a customer issue. Whose job is that? And the first reaction is always, well, it's a salesperson. Or that might be the sales manager. You escalate it there. But when I say, if you lost all your customers tomorrow, whose jobs would be gone? Everybody. So why isn't sales everybody's job? And so it's a really cool exercise to go through to apply that mindset. And then you talk about, you know, the concept of differentiation. I preach the 4 disciplines of differentiation, and it should apply to anybody who's looking for a job. It could be someone graduating college. It could be somebody who's looking to make a career change. It could be someone who's looking to move to the C-level. It could be anybody who's sales with a client. I don't market the book as all things for all people. It's a sales book. You'll make more money. You'll have happier customers, but it's not get rich quick. It's not gimmicks. It's not tactics, but it does implore these 4 disciplines of differentiation. And the first I use, and I don't ever encourage hate, but the only way I could make the analogy was hate your pain so much. So hate your pain. And what that does is you hate losing sales. You hate losing income. You hate wondering where your next sale is coming from. You hate it so much that you create positive action on the outside. And hating your pain is different than keeping hope. I talk to a lot of, I'm a veteran. I talk to a lot of veterans, some that were prisoners of war. And hope kept them going and kept them surviving. Those that escaped hated it so much they were willing to do that. They were willing to change their circumstances. So it's an analogy, but hoping for sales to turn around, you'll be sitting for a long time hoping, hating your pain, hating to lose your customers, to lose income, to lose opportunities, to get that one chance to make a first impression and you blew it. That makes you say, I have to do things differently. And to get better, you have to master difference. So that's my first discipline of differentiation, is be willing to say, look, I hate how things are right now. The second, I say to people, introspect what you extrospect. So inspect what you expect, but internally, you have to take a look at yourself, who you are, who you think you are, and who your customer thinks you are. And if you expect different results, are you being different to the client? It's like saying, I expect to throw a curveball in the major leagues. Am I practicing night and day throwing a curveball to make it to those major leagues? If I expect to be my customer's solution, that Jiminy Cricket, am I becoming that? Am I getting better at that? Am I going to professional development for that? Am I reading books? Am I listening to your podcast? What am I doing? How do I inspect what I expect? And we go through a lot of things in the book. One is, who are you as a salesperson? But the other is, who do your clients think you are? And the third really important thing, Kevin, is we ask you to think about the profile of your ideal client. And when I do this with clients, when I'm consulting them, I start with, list for me your top 3 clients. Usually I get a list of top spending clients, what we do and how it fits with what they buy. Later in the seminar, we talk about what are the characteristics of the folks you would love to do business with. And they describe those characteristics, the profile. And then we try to match the two. And many times, the top 3 clients who spend the most don't match who we would choose to do business with. So it's an important exercise to go through, that you need to differentiate and they need to differentiate, and you need to earn each other's business. And that's part of introspect, what you extrospect. The other part about differentiation is it's a daily exercise. You need to wake up every day thinking about, how am I being a difference in the world of sales, in the world of my community, my friends, my family? How am I being a difference? And difference is an action, not a word. So you can mute my words, but you can't mute my actions, and they need to speak for me. And then the last is, be patient. Differentiation is a practice, and it's not something that's taught. It's, as a matter of fact, it's modeled incorrectly. It's not taught, and it's the number one most important skill. So be patient. It's a learning process. And this book is designed to be something that you can work with, that there are worksheets you can work with. You can annotate. I've had folks call me and say, can we talk about this chapter relative to my particular business situation? And of course I do. That's what makes me different, is I'm accessible.
Yeah, very cool. I love that. And so I know one of the things that you also talk about is customer optimization. Could you give us a little idea what that might look like?
Yeah. I mean, so we think about optimizing customers, and most of the time, we have a one-dimensional view of what it means to optimize a customer. It might mean make the best use of their time. Everybody knows how to lower their price. So my book is not about teaching you to lower your price. Anybody can do that. My book and my approach is about how do you not only reveal your value, but add value so the price isn't really what they're asking about. 9 times out of 10, price isn't what you're asking about. And so when you're optimizing the customer situation, what I've heard from the buying community and those that I met with prior to even launching the book and having it in circulation, what I got from the buying community, the procurement community, was that we expect salespeople to know their value and to differentiate themselves. They didn't use those words, but it was that. And when they don't, we'll tell them what the value is. And 9 times out of 10, we're going to cut it down to 1/10 of what they believe, because they don't know what they're doing. And then everybody sounds like that. So you're not making my time as the buyer valuable. I don't appreciate that. I'm probably never going to talk to you again. I'm never going to think of you at night when I'm thinking of solutions. You've minimized, not optimized, my time and your own worth. You're done. So the other part of that is the salesperson realizing their value, their worth. They are problem solvers. They have the ability, if they choose, to look beyond the symptom and to look at what causes the problem, identify customer costs associated with that, wrap that into a solution that maybe was never thought of course was never thought of, present it in several different formats that resolve bigger problems and address business needs. And you've just optimized your time and your customer's time. And here's the beauty of this, Kevin. I've been in 4 or 5 different industries in my 30 plus years. My customers bring me with them everywhere they go. That's how I know it works. Now, you can break this into what's close to me, what's further down the road. Close to you is you stop losing those sales opportunities. You start earning those extra commissions. And you say, that was pretty nice. I did something different. What did I do different? Then you move a little further out. I'm now getting not just one solution at this client, I've got 10 solutions. Now I'm managing this whole entire account. Now I'm working with national accounts. Now my company has moved me up here. As you move further and further out, folks bring you with them because you have optimized their time through the power of differentiation. And it becomes something that if you practice and start right away and practice daily, it becomes second nature to you. it's like nobody tells you to blink, nobody tells you to breathe. You just do it, and that's what differentiation becomes.
Yeah, man, that's a great explanation. And I'm definitely looking forward to reading your book. I know a lot of folks that I know and work with, and probably a lot of people listening. When they say read, they mean Audible, and so I
Yeah.
was looking around. I didn't see if Sell the Difference was on Audible, or if you're planning to do that, or just curious.
Yeah, right now the only place that Sell the Difference is available is at my website. And really, when I looked at what this is supposed to be for individuals who use this, my podcast is something you can listen to, you can download, and it's designed for listening to. And it is very topical and very specific to different things that folks might want to listen to. But Sell the Difference is designed to be something that professionals will cherish, will utilize, will annotate, will never give their copy out because they're afraid they won't get it back, and will pay them back for the investment they make in buying this book. Hardcover was the only answer to me. I didn't even make it available in paperback because I didn't want it to get ripped or beat up or torn up. It's going to be something that when you carry this with you and you're reading this and you're going to refer to this, and it's going to be the best thing you have. And I built it to last a lifetime. Things like anti-yellowing paper, things like each section bound together and stitching those together and wrapping it in a hardcover that's going to take a beating because you're going to use this, and it's going to last a lifetime. And Audible just didn't seem to be the answer to that at this point. And the feedback has been phenomenal. That this is actually what I've been looking for, and every page is a reward, and those types of things. I'm overjoyed at that. I actually had an 80-year-old retired electrical engineer tell me, "I think I understand sales now."
That's the holy grail.
That's the holy grail. Having an engineer believe they understand
Yeah.
sales and they learn something, it's phenomenal. But it's
amazing.
very affectionately told to me, of course.
Yeah, for an engineer to give any kind of maybe could be perceived as emotional feedback's a big deal. So
Exactly. So when folks want to get this book, they have to go to our website, pksolutionsgroup.com. That's the place to get it. And we've, like I said, the podcast is there. If they need more contact, they can get a hold of me there. We marry this up in a real nice way with a lot of the topics that I conduct, or the micro sessions or the master classes, things like that. So it's a nice alternative to a lot of different ways to learn.
Very cool. Let's shift into the little fire round here at the end we like to do so we can learn from our friends on the show. But what's one of your best pieces of mindset advice for somebody who's looking to grow their business?
Yeah. I mean, well, for growing your business, it kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier, is to find the one area you want to get 1% better at each day, and make it a practice. Make it something that you consciously think about in the morning. We usually wake up and the first thing we do is grab our smartphones. And wouldn't it be nice to take those 5 seconds in between that and think about yourself and how am I paying myself back today? So mindset to me is more than a positive attitude and a smile on your face. Mindset is this inner feeling that you carry with you into the world that says there will be discouragement today, but discouragement is the mother of failure. And rather than being discouraged, I'm going to step to the side and I'm going to think about what am I doing for myself to be different in this situation and to bring difference. So I would say, the mindset is take the moment to practice the patience it takes. First thing in the morning, treat yourself better than you treat your cell phone.
Yeah, I love that. Treat yourself better than you treat your cell phone. That's amazing.
Well, we never let our cell phones die down or charge out or run out of batteries. And why do we do that to ourselves?
Yeah. Wow. Okay, cool, man. That's amazing. So what's in addition to Sell the Difference, what's another favorite book to read, recommend, or give away?
I love Sean Aker. There's a lot of books Sean puts out. The Orange Frog is a great one. I love Catching Fire. There's some inspirational ones there, but it's about looking at the world around you and And Sean preaches to learn to lead from your own seat. So it doesn't matter what your title is. Anywhere you go, you have a position in that community. Could be your friends, could be your business associates, could be your family, but learn to lead from your own seat and learn to lead by example. So I think any of Sean Akers' 4 or 5 publications that are out there are phenomenal, and they work on the improvement of the self and then the improvement of the greater group. And you can't put them down. And then Catching Fire is another great inspirational story, and it's really about life choices and the correct mindset. And that's not Sean Aker. I'm drawing a blank on the author. It'll come back to me the minute we hang up, I'm sure. But it's called Catching Fire. It's a phenomenal read.
Awesome. Okay. Here on the Unlock Your Freedom podcast, what does freedom mean to you?
Freedom. It's funny, Kevin. I just was talking with a group yesterday, and I talked about free will. And I said, free will is not deciding that you won't go out and shoot your neighbor. That's not free will. Free will, in my world, is creating the world around me that I desire, believing that it exists even if I don't see it today. Free will is a mindset, and when you can unlock that whole mindset of freedom, your world, your desires, everything you need will come to you. And it's amazing what you're left with. It goes back to what we were talking about with finding the profile of the ideal customer. If you knew what ideal friendship looked like after 18 years of experiencing people, and then you were charged with the rest of your life, only go find those people, it's amazing how that's all you'd find. So I think the freedom of choice, the freedom of will, the freedom to choose and to be not what you've been labeled or predefined as, but what you believe going forward. That's freedom to me.
So good. All right. Last question. Where can people go to learn more about you?
Yeah, well, they can connect with me on LinkedIn if they'd like, or they can go to pksolutionsgroup.com. And there you'll have a way to contact me. You can get to our podcast. You can get to our book. You can get to our guided meditations. There's a lot of resources there. And any one of those, you'll get in touch with me.
Awesome. And of course, that'll be in the show notes for you guys. I would highly recommend it. Patrick knows what he's doing. Take you anywhere you want to go. Well, thanks for dropping by and sharing your genius with us today. Really great.
Kevin, thank you for having me. It's always so much fun talking with you. You do a great job. I love your show.
Yeah. Oh, man. Thanks, Patrick. Well, appreciate you and appreciate what you're doing. So thanks so much. And, of course, thanks for your service too. And I love the mosquito story because, you don't think small is powerful. Spend a night in a mesh tent with a mosquito. Small is very powerful.
Oh my God. Yeah, absolutely. You're not wrong.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thanks again, man. And you guys, thanks for making it to the end with us. We love you guys, man. Hit subscribe if you hadn't already and share this with somebody who could benefit from hearing what Patrick has to share. See y'all next time on Unlock Your Freedom.